I'm Erin Barker from Hurry for Books, just outside of Washington, D.C., and I'm here with Lindsay Eagar, who is the author of Hour of the Bees, which is coming up from Candlewick. And I had a few questions for you, Lindsay.
Yes.
First, we see so much fantasy in the middle grade market that I was curious why you decided to do magical realism.
So, magical realism was never a conscious choice that I made. I wrote the book and then researched what genre I had just written and realized that it fell very beautifully into the Latin American genre of magical realism. And I distinguish Latin American because it does have some things that are specific to that area of the world. It's magical realism with its roots in oppression. It's magical realism with storytelling and also, of course, with the culture. And so the book came first and the genre I pigeonholed second, if that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. You kind of alluded to it when you were talking about Latin American culture, but there's been a lot of talk about how to responsibly represent diversity in kids fiction. So I was curious if you would kind of share your thoughts or your approach on how you did that with this book.
So when I first wrote it, I wrote the first draft in about 10 days and was not thinking about diversity or research or representation. I wanted to get these characters out, and I naively thought, if I write them as just people, the rest will fall in line. And that is my white privilege showing, and I am aware of that. I did heavily research this area. We had a lot of Latin American readers, Mexican American readers specifically, read it for content and cultural accuracy. But ultimately, the book comes out in just under 2 months, and I am still very aware that this is not my culture and not my voice. And I really, really hope that I portrayed it accurately, and if not, then I will listen and really try to do better next time.
Great. Who is your ideal reader? Like who do you hope picks up this book?
I hope people pick up this book who love stories. Not necessarily even people who love books, although it's a book, so you probably should like books if you're going to listen to it or read it. But this book is all about stories. Stories within stories, the stories we tell each other, the stories we tell ourselves, stories that are passed down, that are important, stories that are hidden that we may not know exist in our families and our communities. And so people who love stories will love this book, and I hope that this book finds its way to them.
Great. For those of you who've seen the gala, you know that this book is also very atmospheric, and the land and the place plays a very strong role in the story and in the plot. Can you tell us a little bit why you chose that setting?
Yes. So I live in Utah, which is the desert, just like New Mexico. It's a little different desert. But I was fascinated and creeped out by the life and death that is constantly at battle in the desert. It seems like such a desolate, terrible place to be, and yet life thrives there where you least expect it. And so it really lent itself well to the plot, this idea of life versus death and finding life in even the most barren, horrible places.
Great. And you had mentioned earlier a little bit about your writing process with this book. Do you want to tell us a little bit how it came to be?
It was kind of a magical genesis. I had just put away an old book that was not working, and I was very sad but very determined to write something totally new and totally different. And so I got out a blank notebook and started with a title, Hour of the Bees. And 10 days later, I had the first draft. And that draft was the draft that got me my agent. We expanded it a bit when we sold it to Candlewick. But it very much felt like some other story in the universe was coming through me and onto the paper. And it set me up for false security in what writing other books would be like, because I have not had that since. And I don't know if lightning will ever strike again. But it was very magical.
Which also, again, fits the tone and the myth and the story
yeah,
it all.
Yes.
I guess another question for you is what do you want indie booksellers to know about you?
I hope they know how much I appreciate what they do, and that as a kid and even as an adult, I'm a reader who comes into bookstores and is looking for that perfect book. And so not only am I writing to put books on your shelves to sell, but I'm also coming into your stores as a reader. And so I love the work that you do, and I appreciate it so much. And also, I'll be around. I mean, I want to write for as long as I can, and so I hope that we have a lot of books that we can sell together, and a whole shelf full of Lindsay Eagar books to pass to kids.
That would be great.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm really excited
Thank you, Erin.
about our puppies.
So much. Thank you.